Hello everyone. Welcome back to the I'll Try That podcast. We're talking beer news and reviews once again. Today, our focus is on Bermondsey-based brewer Fourpure. But first, I'm going to pass over to Rich, who has got today's hot topic. Rich?
Can we, before, I just need to jump in here.
First time I've ever got my intro right.
Barbara, I am so impressed with your alliteration there. Bermondsey-based brewer. That was so good.
Oh, get out. Sorry, I'm sorry I kicked off.
And then you flipped out for some reason.
Rich, take it away.
So, I'm here with a hot topic after Barbara's outburst then. So, the hot topic this week, I have gone for something that could quite possibly affect us, all of us, and it could be in quite a bad way.
Okay, you've piqued my interest. It's about something that can affect me, so I'm already interested, and a bad way. I'm very interested now. Carry on, Rich.
Just read the start of the article. Beer supplies threatened.
No. No.
Dun, dun, dun.
There we go. But yeah, so our beer supplies might be threatened as the logistics drivers, or not the GXO Logistic Drinks, the drivers for that company have all voted unanimously to go on strike. And they deliver around 40% of the UK's beers and other drinks to pubs and other hospitality places.
Dear God, give them whatever they want.
And they just want a pay rise. And for their overtime to be paid, or to allow them to take overtime, which I don't think is unreasonable.
I think that's very fair. I think pay them what they're owed. I think that's the fundamental of what you'd expect when you go into you accept a contract of work, is that you do the work and you get paid for it.
I just did a little bit of a danger of taking it to a political place. Is there external forces making things a little bit difficult? Either way, you don't want to see people struggling. We're all up for an honest day's pay for an honest day's work.
Yeah, I mean, I think to the point is when it comes to a strike, when we're hearing about strike, this obviously we don't know all the details about why, apart from it's a pay dispute, obviously, that can be done with strike. And strike is quite a last ditch effort, let's put it that way. It's quite an escalating effort, to just try and resolve something. Usually there's a lot of different steps. So to the fact that there's a report of a strike, and thankfully it's come away, it's not happening, that sounds like it's being resolved in the right way. But, this has got to a point now where they've decided to play their trump card, as it were, with the strike. So let's hopefully this gets sorted out soon. Everyone can walk away feeling like they've won out of it. And more importantly, us as consumers don't have to pay the price for this.
Yeah, I do like beer.
This week, we're going to be talking about Fourpure. And as Barbara so excellently pointed out, they're a Bermondsey-based brewery here in London. And I have to read out how they describe themselves on their website, because this was refreshing.
How appropriate.
For pure and simple, beer has gotten too complicated. At Fourpure, we keep things refreshingly simple. We make beer the way it should be, full of flavour, using 4 key ingredients. Our beer is brewed in Bermondsey, like it has always been, because we live there. We make great beer in SE16, that's it, for pure and simple.
Sorry, I really, if I go on their website, I'm not there now. If I go on there, I really want to hear the song "Pure and Simple." Was it by Hearsay? Pure and simple, gonna be there.
They should definitely try and see and do like a collaboration with them. Yeah.
No, I would be there for that collab.
Fourpure and Simple, going to be there. Sponsored by Hearsay, or sponsors of Hearsay. I like that though. Why muck about? There is a fair amount of contrivance, for want of a better word, around beer. If you're onto a winning recipe, for want of a better phrase, with a nice beer, what else needs to be involved?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's how they put themselves across. Very simple. It's, it's in the name. It's pure, the Triumvir. I think that's what you've also just talked about as well, Bas. It says, so thinking and peeling back a little bit from the simplistic, how they portray themselves organization. This is the brainchild of 2 brothers, Tom and Dan. So Tom and Dan started, Dan himself was an avid home brewer and beer enthusiast. And it says that Tom was a West Coast of the USA traveler. And that seems to be the combination that you need to be brothers. One of you to know a bit about beer, a little bit about beer, and one of you to like traveling on the West Coast of the US. And then that gives you the license to be like, let's start up a brewery. So that's it. That's the powder keg, which in 2013 Fourpure started. And I just kind of like that. They're not trying to over-egg this. They're not trying to say we're beer experts. We know everything about beer. We've always been in the beer industry.
Yeah, they're not trying to do what Drabbers does and say he's a beer expert. It's interesting, that dynamic between Tom and Dan as two brothers. There's also, I'm sure they've got the similarities, but there's maybe a bit of a difference there. Who do you think is probably the more punctual of the two of them? I've got a funny feeling it's not the West Coast traveller. I don't know why. I've just got this feeling that if you're like, yeah, no, we've got this really important meeting at 11 o'clock. So, yes, I will be there. I'm sorry if I'm doing a disservice to one of the brothers there, but I'm not alone in thinking that, I hope.
That does sound like the perfect start for a sitcom, though. One brother's always on time, the other one's always late. And
they're brewing brothers, and they've got an image of them stood back to back with their arms crossed. This guy.
Yeah. And it'd be called We Are the Brewers.
Quite like that's actually quite what you've done a thing there, and I see what it is. I like that.
Yeah. I'd be there for that.
But fair play. Maybe that's the reason they had to keep things simple, is they couldn't agree on anything else. Well, chaps, what are we drinking? I have got the Bermondsey IPA.
I also have the Bermondsey IPA, Session IPA.
I have the Citrus IPA, so we can talk about that afterwards.
Got quite a range. And is this fair to say that it's typical of more modern brewers? I am tarring them with that brush without even really knowing how long they've been established. But is it fair to say that some of these more modern brewers are happy to make a wider range of beers and maybe not, to a certain extent, put all their eggs in one basket? Actually do a couple and say, hey, we put a few together, and maybe it's only just the relative success of individual beers from a brewer that makes them get into the mainstream. But I swear this is a fairly common thing that a lot of these breweries are saying, hey, look, we can do a session IPA, we can do a citrus, we also will do a lager, and we'll also do an APA or something double hopped or something like that. They do a session IPA, they do a citrus session, they do the lager. They then do an IPA, a regular IPA. They do a citrus IPA, presumably different from the citrus session, and they do a hazy pale.
And I see they also have a citrus double. I think you mentioned that as well, right?
Yes, sorry, a citrus double, yeah.
The fact remains they have 6 different types of IPA.
That's a lot of IPA.
I don't know anyone else that I've come up against who has 6 different IPAs out of the 7 products that they actually produce. The other one that they don't have, which is an IPA, is a lager. So 6 out of 7 of their products that they brew are IPAs.
If you're doing something well, just do it really well.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I just think they're really solidifying themselves in this new craft beer world. This is we do takes on IPAs. This is our take on this new craft meta, which is an IPA. If you're a craft brewer nowadays, you kind of have to have a standout IPA, and they're saying, well, we can do it 6 standout IPAs.
Yeah, to my mind, I suppose, I guess, as a drinker rather than a brewer, it makes sense to do variations on a theme rather than, hey, look, we've nailed a regular IPA. Try our stout. That kind of makes sense, doesn't it?
Well, I'd say a counterpoint to that. It makes sense. I guess you're right, but it's very unusual for brewers to be so down the lane. Like either they've got like 1 or 2 of that's very similar. I mean, we just talked about like Carling, let's say, very different brewer, obviously, but they've got 2 different types of lager. They're known as a lager world. So you could say, arguably, that is what Carling do. If we're saying the same as for Fourpure, IPA is what they do, but the fact they have 6 of them, doesn't that just strike you as quite a large number? Whereas usually you try and cross-sell your beers into different types of beer.
Yeah, and do you know what? I'm almost thinking that maybe 4 would have done. We're keeping pure and simple. Pure and simple.
Oh, guys, I've just figured out why they're called Fourpure. 4 key ingredients.
What about? I thought there was a 5th key ingredient.
Some can going to add on different things, but these guys are 4. They talk about it on their opening statements. 4 ingredients, 4 key ingredients, 4 pure.
This is every brewer just seems to concentrate between 4 or 5 important things, and then just base their whole identity around it.
Well, I quite like then that the fact that knowing that there is quite a lot of fluff, let's say, in this world, because most of the ingredients are the same, as you said.
Yeah.
You know, the brewing process is very similar between all these, blah, blah, blah. I like that they aren't trying to, too much play in that space. They're saying, look, we're brothers, we make this beer. It's what it's about. I was really fascinated by the fact that these guys are so heavily invested into IPAs.
Every time you've said 2 brothers a couple of times, and do you guys like Rick and Morty? Have you seen that one where they do interdimensional cable and they go 2 brothers? It's like, and then a Mexican armada, tomato gun, old women come, and they're 2 brothers and they fight, and that's all I can hear. Fourpure is those 2 guys. The film's just called 2 brothers. They've got a special bond. That's all I can hear. So maybe we've got some Rick and Morty fans listening. And the other thing I would just like to say is I'm glad that they don't go, there's 4-5 ingredients and then the extra ingredient is love.
It's our love for each other as brothers.
2 brothers with fraternal love making beer. One of them is dicking around on the West Coast. The other's trying to run a business. They're the original odd couple making beer. Brewing Brothers 2. This time it's a double hopped IPA.
You know what? I actually might leave part of that in. I think that was hilarious. I might leave some of that in. It's really good.
It's like Bad Boys 2, but beer related.
So back to Fourpure. Back in 2018, they were purchased by Australia's Lion organisation.
Okay.
Do you guys heard of Lion before? They're an Australian food and beverage company.
Not Lion Bar.
But Lion is a subsidiary of Japanese drinks giant Kirin.
Oh.
Which, if I'm quite honest, I've only heard a few times before, but Barbie, you got some more on Kirin?
Kirin? Sorry, no, I thought you were going to ask me about Lion. And I said, famous, of course, for not telling the truth.
Sorry, that was a grower. That was a grower. That's
just let that one...
had a long fuse, that joke.
Kirin, is that Kirin Ichiban? Which I'm pretty sure was a lipstick for men, made famous by Joey Tribbiani out of Friends. Kirin Ichiban, they're almost maybe another episode, but there may be another podcast all together. Some of you may know them as a distillery. I believe it's like a rice wine that you can get from Kirin. There's all sorts. So big players out there that will not be a stranger to many, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I think just some of their rap sheet of some of the organisations they own big stakes in. Asia Pacific Breweries, they own 15%. Those are the guys that make Tiger.
Oh, yeah.
The mix with Tiger Heineken. Brooklyn Brewery, they own a 25% stake.
Nice.
A 24.5% stake, if you want to be. Four Roses Distillery, you might have heard of that. The bourbon, the Four Roses bourbon.
Yeah. I've heard of them. Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, and then Lion as well. That's Australia and New Zealand. So yeah, I think that's a really interesting to know that this Bermondsey-based brewery is now owned by
big brewer
through Australia. It's owned by this huge Japanese conglomerate. And I was quite interested to read about why. Obviously, these guys are all about simplicity. They're all about what they can do, and in all classic sense of what I'm picking up from the Tom and or Dan's sense of style and how they talk about themselves, It's really refreshing to hear. So there's a quote I have here on why they decided to do this. And they said, "You're also probably expecting business as usual, nothing will change, more of the same. Whilst the beer and the culture and the people will be the same, we truly hope that you do see some change. Otherwise, why would we bother?"
Yeah.
So I think that was quite fascinating. Okay. It's like, obviously, guys, we're going to grow. That's why we're taking this investment. They haven't disclosed how much money they got from this, but they've said that they're going to hire this is back in 2018. They were going to immediately hire another 20 extra staff, investing £2.5 million into new technology. So they're hoping to have increased their output to about 14 million pints a year. So growth, expansion, being a bigger brewer is the plan.
I was going to say, it's the only way some of these smaller breweries are ever going to get out there. If they're ever going to get their name, they need to, not so much as the word sell out, but they need to go to these bigger organisations that are going to push them and that are going to grow them. I
guess, but if there are, I think I might be getting the numbers right, but wrong, but there's like 14,000 brewers these days. Maybe there is a bit of a level playing field, and people are being elevated to the next level because they have got either a USP or there is something that actually is making them stand out. I don't feel like I'd be the voice of millions in terms of, yes, this is the beer that must make it. But there are industry people who will know, and that's why they're getting the penetration that they are.
I think this is a great case example, penetration aside.
Yeah. Oh, yeah?
So something we've talked about before. Obviously, you just mentioned there 14,000 breweries in the UK alone. This has grown from about 3,000, which it was about 10 years ago. So this is an exponential, scale of breweries we're seeing. There are going to be breweries in there that, because taste palates are changing so much and we as consumers are expecting a better quality product, there are so many great breweries that are offering these different levels of product now. But that is not sustainable to have that many breweries out there. So there is going to unfortunately be, I believe, a downturn in these craft brewers, and we'll see more of these go out of these smaller brewers lose out. So this sounds like a really good opportunity for Fourpure to just remain and grow as an organization, obviously. But I'm looking more into this. This is a huge opportunity on the flip side as well for Lion, an Australian, New Zealand-based drinks manufacturer, to have a presence and a foothold here in the UK market, which is a big, drinks market. They have just said, and I'm reading more about this why they've done this. Lion only have 4 people here in the UK, which for a company of that size, that's fascinating. The fact that they've only got a handful of people in the UK shows that this is an area they're wanting to invest in and want to grow in. They see an opportunity with Fourpure to do this.
I've kind of figured out how we should decide out of the 14,000 breweries which one should stay. Hunger Games.
Cameron might have something to say about that, Rich, but no, I kind of get that. It seems a little bit arbitrary, but yeah, separate the men from the boys, for want of a better phrase.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to go on a real segue, but I feel like we haven't talked about the taste.
Yeah, no, you're right. I was thinking what we're missing, and we're missing actually talking about the beer. So I can't wait to learn more about my Cicerone course, and I can come back and tell you a bit more about the taste, the mouthfeel that I have.
Wet.
But the taste right now that I'm getting.
Well, I've got it. Wet.
Fourpure Citrus IPA, vibrant, zesty, is very hoppy as you're expecting from an IPA, and it's a 5.9% ABV, so it's got that extra kick to it that you're probably expecting from a more crafted, newer age IPA. But yeah, it's making my mouth salivate ever so slightly, which is making me think about more of those IPA hops, the Citra hops that we get with these more, mango-y and orangey flavored IPAs. But it's very palatable. I'm enjoying this a lot.
So I'm trying the session IPA, which is a 4.2, and I'm really enjoying it. I think it is, as you said, it's doing exactly what it says on the tin, which is tropical and refreshing. Like you drink some IPAs that are quite tart and kind of like dry your mouth out slightly. Not with this one. Really, really nice. And I could sit there and session it for a while.
Yeah, so I moved from being on what was, before I started tasting, the India Pale Ale, the 5.9%, self-proclaimed hoppy and refreshing. I was on something described as a session IPA, and I had one of those moments where you almost forget what you've moved on to. And then I had a sip of this and I went, whoa, wow, hang on. And I went, oh, yeah, we're talking about a 5.9 IPA here. And I went, oh, so that does make a little bit more sense. So I think I'm at the same pace as you on that one, Joe.
Yeah, I think this is a refreshing organisation. And I like their very to the point tone of voice. I like their stripped back design. It's all very silver lead, but big Fourpure written across around quite nice. It's very tidy. It's very neat.
You're winning the vocabulary game. I think the word of the episode has been refreshing. Spot on.
On your cans, are you looking, where it has the ABV and the units and everything like that? I think I really, really enjoy the way they've laid it out on the can with the kind of like the block bits going along the side of it. I think it looks really nice. Now, I've seen them do it like that, but I genuinely, that really caught my eye and I really, really enjoyed it.
So for those listeners, they've put these different sections, these different areas: ALC, UK units, beer style, volume, and calorie. Up on the side of the can, and they've put what they are, which is I've never seen someone put the UK units so boldly before. The calories, it's very neat, isn't it?
I was going to say, it looks like they've taken from an Excel spreadsheet, just kind of copied and pasted it onto the side of the can, which I'm a big fan of an Excel spreadsheet. So,
but numbers wise, Joe,
Instagram they have 28k followers,
nice,
prolific,
and Twitter they have 16k followers,
nice,
fair play.
So if you find yourself in the Bermondsey area, if you're coming off the London Bridge station, is the nearest big train station, you can go to underneath the arches, as it were, go and visit Fourpure's tap room. It looks like there's a lot of events happening, from stand-up comedies through to, they've got a big indoor space as well as outdoor space as well. So definitely one to hit up if you're traveling your way through that part of London. And if you can find them, you'll start to see with this extra, growth and money that they're getting from these outside the UK investment. I think those in the UK will start to see more of Fourpure up and down the country. And from what we're saying and what we're tasting, definitely worth a try.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's all we have time for this week's episode of the I'll Try That podcast. And so from me, Joe,
Rich,
Barber,
and Simo,
goodbye. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram,
Twitter,
I'll try that podcast.com,
and watch us on YouTube.
Goodbye now.